we covered the conspiracy theories behind HAARP back in the day. Back
It's like
when
episode 20 or something.
Back when it was like fresh, but now it's so hard to do the conspiracy theories about it because it's so obviously not what's happening, because it was mostly out of a misunderstanding of what the fuck was happening at HAARP.
Well, officially, it specializes in analyzing the ionosphere, which is the portion of the atmosphere that stretches from 53 to 370 miles above sea level. And HAARP is no small operation. It's 360 radio transmitters and 180 antennas covering over 30 acres of land near Gakona, Alaska. And at the heart of the facility is a very impressive-sounding phased array radar that emits radio waves. In other words, there's some serious shit going down at HAARP, or at least some very involved shit. Stuff that sounds scary.
Yeah, it's stuff that's used to mind control us from Alaska, and it's sending messages into the minds of the American people in order to help us to believe that what the fucking president says is real. It's a mind control device, and they're beaming it everywhere, dog. It's why everybody gets a new iPhone, man. It's we're slaves to it, dude.
You did just pull one up. That did prove your point.
No. And not like the 16 when we saw the photo. We saw the photo of someone said that the out of the United airline flight, that the door, whatever it was, the Alaska airline flight. Alaska.
Don't besmirch United
nor Delta.
Yeah. I mean, but Alaska airline, the side of that airplane fell off, and they found an iPhone that landed unscathed. From quote unquote landed unscathed from 16,000 feet, which I think is a plant. I think it's a fake. I think it's an advertisement from fucking Apple. Dude.
Absolutely, because everyone knows you drop it out of your pocket and it fucking
Cracks.
breaks. My thing's a goddamn mess.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're playing right into it because you've mentioned this on 3 different shows and have given Apple free advertisement every single time.
No, dude, it was before. I didn't actually say it on the shows, but Apple, I mean, they could pay us. You could pay us if you wanted to, but I still think it's a fucking psyop, dog.
Any coincidence that it's Alaska Airlines?
Exactly.
Oh, shit, bro.
Exactly.
Fucking put it in there.
Oh, yeah, you. Well, amongst other projects, we're talking about HAARP. Their current research experiments as of 2 years ago, and these research experiments are too complicated to go into outside of their names, are the moon bounce, the Jupiter experiment, and a partnership with UC Berkeley called STEVE.
Oh, man, that sounds like a Disney show.
Yeah, that's Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement. STEVE.
Steve.
But the reason why...
But basically, one of the things that they do is they are working on a communications satellite. I believe the goal is to bounce messages off the ionosphere in order to... It's about communication and radio communication.
Yeah.
I believe that.
But the reason why HAARP is connected to conspiracy thought is that its inception is tied to the Cold War, where many government conspiracies, especially the true ones like MKUltra, come from. Basically, projects like HAARP were being used to emit extremely low-frequency waves, ELF waves for short, to communicate with submerged submarines. ELF projects, however, were scuttled in the lower 48 after facilities in Michigan and Wisconsin made nearby residents sterile, stupid, and riddled with cancer.
It's bad. That's enough of a conspiracy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy. That just happened.
Yeah, they just poisoned a bunch of people.
Yeah. And so the study of ELF waves was brought to a more remote location in Alaska. This was ushered in by Senator Ted Stevens, who was the guy who said that the internet was a series of tubes. To remind you of that claim, Henry will now read you Ted's old man rant that he gave about just this subject in Congress.
10 movies streaming across that internet, and what happens to your own personal internet? I just the other day got an internet was sent by my staff at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. I got it Tuesday. Why? Because it got tangled up with all these things going on the internet commercially. They want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, these tubes can be filled, and if they are filled, when you put the message in, it gets in line, right? And it goes, and it's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube enormous amounts of material. My daughter won't call.
This was the man who, at the time, was heavily involved in debates that were regulating the internet, that
thank
make the rules that form our world today.
My son dresses like a cactus. Why is everybody hanging out with Care Bears? What's happening? What's a Pikachu?
But Ted Stevens was also highly involved in HARP, saying in public that they were going to harness the aurora borealis, quote-unquote, down to Earth so it could be used to solve the energy crisis.
I went out there with 2 big nets, and we knew we had to catch the borealis and bring it down, put it into sacks, distribute it amongst my constituents. Each one of you will get one section of the aurora borealis. It's going to help your tubes.
This, of course, didn't work, and all this may go a little way towards putting away some conspiracy theories when you really take a close look at who is actually in charge of this country. But after the Cold War, HARP pivoted to more scientific pursuits until 9/11. After that, it was used to study ways to counter the effects of high-altitude nuclear detonation, which would cripple low Earth satellites. But there are some who believe that HARP has far more nefarious, far more dangerous, and far more powerful functions than being a simple monitoring and research station. Most of those conspiracies say that HARP uses an antenna to manipulate the high-frequency range, which allows them to do everything from controlling the weather to controlling people.
It's one of those things where if they could do this, they would be using it. I think they'd be used, but then I guess that's why, because that's what convinces all, you know what I mean? Because the most up-to-date versions of HARP is talking about how that's what, in coordinations with the 5G crystals that have been put into our blood because of the series of war crimes called the COVID-19 vaccines that were rolled out on all of us, as that HARP is going to harness those like midichlorians from the vaccines in our blood in order to turn us into, I believe, us into trans people. No, it is changing us. I believe that is one of the actual theories.
Yeah.
And it's flipping us.
Well,
back and forth.
On it.
Well, HARP has actually been nicknamed the Area 51 of Alaska, and it's been blamed for, I remember this stuff so well.
Yeah.
It got blamed for Hurricane Katrina,
Yep.
Hurricane Sandy,
Yep.
and a false flag attack on North Korea. That didn't take, though. And it's not just internet theorists who jumped on this bandwagon. In 2008, a Russian military journal described HARP as a geophysical superweapon, which can, for lack of a better term, fuck with the ionosphere above other countries to slowly drive them mad and slowly kill them by burning a specific hole in the ozone layer, which would allow deadly cosmic radiation to seep through. Even old Hugo Chavez, if you remember him. Do you remember
Yeah.
him?
Now, who's he again?
For a Venezuelan dictator.
Oh, yeah.
That guy.
He said that the 2010 Haitian earthquake, remember that bad one? That killed like 100,000 people?
We all donated and they stole our money and fucking made stupid shit.
Well,
I
Wyclef
remember.
Jean stole the money.
Yeah.
Well, Hugo Chavez said that was caused by the testing of a tectonic weapon developed by the United States. The Venezuelan press subsequently wrote that the earthquake may have been associated with Project HARP. And now we come to Dr. Nick Begich. If you'll remember from the beginning of this episode, the politician Hale Boggs, the one whose plane disappeared, was out raising money for a congressman named Nick Begich. And Dr. Nick Begich is Congressman Nick Begich's son.
I hate this fucking name so much. Is that real? Is his name really Nick Begich?
Yeah, I can't see how else
Or is it
would be.
Begich?
Maybe it's Begich. Maybe it's like Buttigieg.
Begich? It might
maybe
be
it's-
Begich. It might be Begich.
It might be Begich, but you just see Nick Begich and you got to read it like Nick Begich.
I'm looking at this now. I'm looking to see if I could. Is that you pronounce it?
Nick Begich.
Here,
Nick
I got it.
Begich.
Mark Begich. It is Begich. It's Begich. It just like,
Okay, it's Begich. Okay, so it's Nick Begich.
it's still a horrible name.
Nick Begich. I don't know. I just like Nick Begich.
Yeah,
It
I do
must-
too.
But I'll say Begich. Nick Begich. It must be said, however, that Nick Begich Jr.'s doctor title, that comes from an honorary doctorate of medicine for independent work in health and political science at the Open International University for Complementary Medicines in Sri Lanka. So I would say that calling him doctor is very much optional.
I think it's kind of fun. It seems like it's one of those where as long as you show up with a stethoscope, you're a doctor.
But at any rate, Dr. Nick Begich wrote a highly critical book about the Area 51 of Alaska called Angels Don't Play This Harp.
Yeah! I think we used that. Didn't we use that for back in the day when we did our harp episode?
No, back then we didn't use books at all. We seriously looked shit up on the internet like a couple hours before we recorded and just went with it. That was us for like 80 episodes.
I think I have this book somewhere. This is so funny. I got to get into this. Because it's Tesla technology. You got to forget. This is all Tesla shit. Same thing with the pyramids being used as batteries. It's this idea that you can make more energy than you want to using a small amount of energy.
Yeah. Well, in Angels Don't Play This Harp, he claims that HARP is capable of firing heat beams through the atmosphere that can penetrate everything living or dead, which sounds a lot like the plot from Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
But no matter its purpose, author Mike Ricksecker believes that HARP is only possible because it harnesses the energy of the Alaska Triangle.
The fucking Dark Pyramid, dude! This is what I'm fucking saying. The very heart, Mount Denali, dude.